welcome back to another episode of the Power Up Notes for July 2026. I'm glad you're here, because we have a huge lineup to unpack this month. On the gaming Linux front, we've got game-changing news for GOG fans on desktop, a massive performance leap coming to Ryzen and Steam Deck users, and Valve pushing the limits on remote play. Plus, we'll dive into the kernel side of things to look at a zero-day flaw uncovered with the help of AI, alongside some fresh updates to Fedora. Later in the show, we're diving into a heavy editorial on digital storefront safety, specifically looking at itch.io's glaring moderation flaws, why personal boundaries aren't enough, and how we can demand real platform accountability together through a new global petition. And stick around until the end, because we're officially launching our brand new segment, Chat Time, where I'll break down how you can get your forum posts and projects featured right here on the show. Let's jump into the news. Welcome to Game Notes, folks. First off, native Good Old Games Galaxy Client is officially coming to Linux. Good Old Games joint CEO Kaziper Pavlinski confirmed that Good Old Games has brought a specialist on board to build a native Good Old Games Galaxy Client for Linux. And this is big, because Linux gamers currently rely on third-party launchers like Heroic or Lutris, or manual offline installers to manage DRM-free Good Old Games titles. Official native support brings native cloud saves, auto updates, and library syncing straight from Good Old Games. Major Steam Deck and Ryzen gaming performance patch. A proposed Linux kernel update for AMD's P-State driver induces per-core energy performance, or EPP, boosting. The impact is it prevents CPUs from dropping clock speeds during micropause thread switches, massively lifting 1% low FPS stability. Benchmark showed up to a 31.8% jump in frame consistency on Civilization 6. Now that's pretty big. If you play games like that, you're going to definitely appreciate that patch when it's done. Steam Client Beta, HDR streaming, and AVM1 support. Valve pushed out updates to the Steam Beta preview channel featuring HDR streaming support specifically for the Steam Deck OLED over remote play, alongside experimental AV1 video streaming on Steam RT3. Now that's pretty big. I mean, if you have a Steam Deck, that's definitely something you'll probably appreciate. I mean, HDR streaming, if you stream games from your computer, that's huge. Of course, we also have some other news. Fortnite released version 41.30 for an update. Launched July 30th, which is the day this episode is being recorded. Introducing the Spider-Man Brand New Day collab, Tom Holland skin, John Bernthald's Punisher, and returning mythic web shooters. So if you play the Fortnite, you might want to check that out. Of course, there's awesome indie and RPG releases this past month. Notable releases included Luminarium, 2D hand-drawn action RPG, Prelude Dark Pain, tactical RPG in early access, and Cults Adept, the first making its PC debut. So if you are interested in any of those games, check them out. Now, let's switch over to Kernel Notes. Let's get started with the Linux kernel news for July 2026. First, Reflux FS kernel flaw disclosed, which is ticket CVE-2026-64600. The story: security researchers disclosed a 9-year-old race condition in the XFS file stream driver allowed unprivileged local users to gain root access on default RHEL, Fedora server, and Amazon Linux installations. But the twist is that AI frontier models were used during vulnerability research to assist in identifying the race condition and drafting the advisory. Patches landed for mid to late July, so if you're running any of those, make sure that you've posted your updates. Those are key to keeping your system secure. Fedora 45 introduces minimal grub for confidential VMs. The story. Fedora 45 announced a slimmed-down, specialized variant of the grub bootloader. And why it matters? By stripping out unneeded modules, it keeps TPM, Platform Configuration Register, PC, which stands for which is PCR for short, measurements predictable across updates for UKIs, which stands for Unified Kernel Images, and reduces attack surfaces in VM environments. So if you're running a virtual machine and you've got Fedora and you're using Fedora 45, make sure you get the update, folks. Now it's time for the next important thing that you've been looking forward to: our editorial on web safety and itch.io. In the digital era, the boundaries between open access web traffic and restricted mature material are supposed to be defined by robust safety gates. We are told that platforms have systems in place to verify age, moderate content, and protect users. But when you take a closer look at how certain storefronts actually handle these boundaries, you realize pretty quickly that many of these so-called guardrails are nothing more than an illusion. Case in point, itch.io. While the platform has earned a reputation as a haven for indie developers and creative experiments, its approach to hosting adult material views a severe systematic failure. On the standard digital storefronts like Steam, viewing restricted content requires a logged-in account, which sets a clear baseline for account-level restriction and responsibility. On itch.io, however, accessing explicit, boundary-crossing material requires nothing more than a single click on an unverified birthdate prompt. You don't need an account. You don't even need to log in. Unauthenticated, logged-out web traffic can bypass that warning in a matter of seconds. A simple click-to-enter prompt isn't a guardrail. It's a speed bump. And when a platform sets the barrier to entry that low, the content hosted within those spaces quickly degenerates. Without meaningful access controls or proactive file verification, these unmonitored spaces become breeding grounds for deeply disturbing material. Consider a discrete example currently accessible on the platform. A title centered on non-consensual mechanics, mind control tropes, and themes dangerously adjacent to school-aged settings. Because itch.io operates on a publish first, ask questions later model, that project remains hosted and freely downloadable. Even worse, the community surrounding these projects actively works to dismantle what little gating exists. External workarounds, like players sharing completed save files on third-party sites like Mediafire, allow anyone to skip early gameplay entirely and jump straight to the most extreme, non-consensual mechanics. When payment providers like Visa and Stripe forced itch.io's hand over mature content monetization, the platform stripped the ability to sell NSFW games. But that didn't clean up the content. It simply turned those projects into free downloads. While creators shifted their monetization off-site to places like Patreon or adult-friendly payment channels. The loopholes remain wide open. The harmful material remains easily accessible for free, and community reports flagging these violations are routinely ignored or met with excruciatingly slow responses. In fact, the game I mentioned earlier, I flagged it like over 2 months ago, and it's still up on itch.io. Talk about bad. Horrible, even. Recognizing these systematic flaws is why I recently chose to block itch.io at the browser level using Fox Filter. Eliminating the friction of negotiating with inadequate prompts was a necessary personal boundary for me. However, personal boundaries are only step one. Corporate accountability requires collective action. If the platform chooses to host explicit material, it has to accept the responsibility of securing and monitoring it properly. When Storefront refuses to act until forced by credit card companies, its users and the broader gaming community have to step and say, enough is enough. That's why I've launched a petition calling on itch.io's leadership to fix these structural failures immediately by implementing 4 non-negotiable updates. First, mandatory account gates. Require users to be logged into an active, registered account to view or download any content tagged NSFW or adult, blocking all unsophisticated web traffic entirely. Second, a robust age verification overhaul. Transition away from simple, easy bypass browser prompts and into genuine account-level mature content filters. Third, proactive file review. Implement mandatory pre-approval and file verification for NSFW listings before they are permitted to go live, ensuring the compliance with platform safety guidelines up front. And fourth, rapid moderation and accountability. Overhaul the reporting system to guarantee fast, decisive action when users flag non-compliant content. If a platform cannot safely manage and secure the material it hosts, it shouldn't be hosting it at all. If you believe digital storefronts should be held to higher standards of safety, moderation, and user accountability, I need your voice. I've placed the link to the global petition right at the top of the description below. Please take a moment to click through, sign it, and share it. Together, we can push for a safer digital perimeter and demand that platform leaders take real responsibility. Now it's time for the brand new segment, Chat Time. Welcome to the very first Chat Time segment on the Power Up Notes. Since the site's forums have recently been relaunched and we are starting with a clean slate, there are no community posts to highlight just yet. So for this first episode, I want to take a moment to lay out exactly what Chat Time is, why it exists, and how you can get your own post featured in future episodes. What is Chat Time? Chat Time is a dedicated space in this series where I spotlight the best discussions, updates, and announcements happening on our site's community forums. In future episodes, this won't just be limited to general discussions. As the platform grows, I'll also be picking up community events, job listings, and classifieds to feature right here on the show. However, to keep the show tight and focused, I'll only be selecting 3 to 5 items per monthly episode, depending on their length. What makes a feature-worthy post? Getting featured isn't about having the highest post count or posting the loudest opinions. It comes down to one simple rule alongside our standard forum guidelines: substance over noise. Here's what I'm looking for: thoughtful engagement. Posts that open the floor for real debate, share meaningful insights, or break down interesting projects. Relevance. Submissions should tie into what we're discussing that month, either building on the episode's main editorial theme, reacting to the news that emerged that past month. Open to everyone. It does not matter whether you're a free subscriber or a paid member. Everyone has an equal opportunity to get highlighted as long as the post quality meets the bar. What to avoid? Keep our forums valuable for everyone. Certain types of low-effort content won't make the cut for Chat Time. Low-effort engagement traps. Threads that encourage single-word answers, alphabet games, or basic post-count inflators. High and mighty preaching. Posts written as if they are absolute, unappealable final word on topic. Good forum threads start conversations. They don't shut them down. The floor is open. If no posts meet the quality bar in a given month, Chat Time simply won't feature anything that episode. We won't lower the standard or throw in filler just to check a box. But if you bring great ideas, interesting projects, or thoughtful takes to the forums, this segment is your platform. Head over to the forums, check out this month's topic, and drop your thoughts. You might just see your post highlighted in the next month's episode. Thank you once again for watching another episode of the Power Up Notes. If you enjoyed what you have seen, please like, share, and consider joining my community and blog, Vanilla Ice. By doing that last item, you can stay in the loop and maybe get featured on the next Chat Time yourself.